Okay. Welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jenn podcast. It's Jen here with Mac, and today we have two very special guests with us. We have Nuper and Cherie. These are two of our clients that are just absolutely amazing, killing it, and doing awesome things. So we're so excited to be here with them and to have a conversation here with them today on the podcast.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for welcoming everyone. And just to give a little bit more commentary on Nuper and Cherie. Nuper I've been coaching Nuper for a little while and kind of came in and started figuring things out, but Nuper holds, maybe you're going to have to kind of fill me in on this, because I know you've done a lot of like cultural stuff, a lot of type of almost religious type study. You're an accountant. You hold a director position with a firm. Maybe fill me in a little bit on that side of things, on like your education, real quick.
Sure. So, I have my degree, 2 degrees in accounting, a bachelor's and a master's, and I hold a minor in religion as well. So that's kind of where that background comes from. I was like a really strong interest in why religion is the way it is and why we do things. So my focus was specifically Hinduism. So I grew up Hindu. Let's see. I guess, do you want okay, I'm a singer also. Like that's like kind of my.
I'll pick up. I was just kind of curious on the master, that piece of it. I wasn't exactly sure. But to add to that, she's a singer. She's released a couple songs, working on an EP, and a few songs. Like start recording right away, right? Awesome. Just got a certified as a yoga instructor because she loves it and has fun with it. Been working her butt off. She also has been developing a company that is designed to help women write grants and get funding and that type of thing. That one's in the works. What else? Sarah, I mean, you've done some cool stuff, like cultural stuff too. Like working in different things and right.
Yeah. I think that really tied into like a lot of my yoga stuff, but I've done some cultural things just with like my extended family or like my temple that I attend. So I'm trying to think what specifically.
Now there was a position you held in another job that had to do with more that side of things.
I guess I work this job actually, like my previous role, I think I was working like on a diversity, equity, and inclusion position. I think that might be what you're talking about.
Maybe that's what it is.
And then prior, like when I was in college still, I worked for the university when I was in grad school, and I helped create like the South Asian Heritage Celebration through my university. I think that might be the one you're referencing. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. And you were recently documented in an article.
I wrote a blog post for my agency that I currently work at for the DEI program. So I wrote an article called Breaking Barriers. I attended a conference and kind of wrote like a blog post about it and what it means to be Asian, South Asian, like in the advertising world.
So. Awesome. And one of the cool things that I don't think people know about is you've been to Antarctica.
I have been to Antarctica. Yeah, most people don't know about that. I went as part of my previous job, as part of like an audit through the National Science Foundation. So
yeah,
awesome.
That's badass. So
yeah, it was really cool. Yeah,
you are badass.
Thank you.
Yeah, and single. If any of the guys think they want to qualify, good luck. Better be a man. So, all right.
Yeah, you have to go through us. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, okay, and Cherie has, does work. It's very different. It's a job that really requires a lot of resilience, a lot of commitment. It's a very difficult position working with CPS, where she often has to take children out of very bad situations, trying to solve problems with limited, there's certain things that you can do and can't do, but she cares deeply about helping kids, and making sure things are done right, and she has a purpose behind it and works her butt off and deals with a lot of weight that comes with that, and she handles it extremely well. And has a couple little girls of her own, and is kind of has her own journey and figuring things out. Is there anything you want to add to that, Cherie, as far as like accreditations, or I don't even know what degree you have to hold to do that?
I actually I just have an associate's degree. It's in occupational therapy assisting, and that kind of, when I was in school, one of the internships I did was at the Oregon State Hospital, which is a state psychiatric hospital. And so that's kind of what got me into state work. And so I worked at the state psychiatric hospital for 7.5 years in various roles. So I worked as an occupational therapy assistant and then moved into a supervisor position. And did that until COVID, and that kind of things changed significantly there. I just wasn't as happy there and was looking for other state type jobs. And I really wanted to work in the town that I live in. I knew they had an office here in my town, but I'd applied several times and didn't get the position. So eventually I applied in a nearby town with hopes of getting back to my town, and got the job. About 45 minutes from home, working in the job that I'm doing now as a CPS worker, and did that for almost 2 years. And then I don't know, 4 months ago, I got the job in the town that I live in. So yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, very, very important work, and very difficult at times, that, things that nobody wants to talk about. So a lot of praise to you for being able to, one, do the work. I would murder people. If I had to do your job, I'd probably be in prison. But yeah, it's a load. So that's a little deeper introduction to this. Like I said, I've been working with Nuper for a little while. Cherie is kind of new to the picture. Jenn and Cherie connected before Cherie ever even knew who I was. And so I'm going to kind of start on that. I'm just going to ask, what was it that drew you to begin to, Jenn is very visible on social media and does a lot there and plugs in with a lot of people. And, what was it that kind of got you to say, who is this, or what's going on, or what happened?
So I think it most significantly starts with my journey with sobriety. And Jenn was in a sober moms group that I was also in. She kind of posted infrequently. And I had been in the group for a couple years, and wasn't, and kind of, I was new to actually like succeeding and actually being sober. So I was about 4 months into my sobriety that I'm currently in, and saw a post that she had made. I think it was like a TikTok that she had posted to the group, where she just looked happy. One of the most significant things I saw is that she had lost a bunch of weight, and that has been like a significant journey of mine, is like losing weight. And so I saw like she must be super happy because of all this weight she lost. And I had no idea like what the journey was. And so that I think at that point she was like starting the sober moms group, or the sober moms podcast, I guess, or whatever it was. But she had started that. I was like, well, I've been a couple months sober, wasn't super interested in that, but I noticed that it kind of fizzled out, or it didn't fizzle out, but the program, she did it. But then she had also started the evolution program. And so I kind of watched her for a little bit. And then I think she posted another video, and I was like, you know what? I'm like 6 months into this sobriety journey. Like, I'm doing some really awesome things, but like, I know that there's more out there, and I know that I really want more of whatever it is that she has. So I reached out to her like on a Thursday, the day of the call, and I was like, I think I just want to do this. She's like, okay. So she's like, calls tonight. And I wasn't I wasn't super committed at that point, but like I would be at work, and I'd just like listen to the playbacks of the calls or whatever. But that's the start of my journey, I guess, with the two of you.
Okay, awesome. And Nuper, kind of same question to you. Like when you first kind of came around and I know you came through kind of through someone else. Just give us a little bit about, maybe what was the interest, what brought you in, and then what actually kept you, maybe locked you in.
Yeah. I think you had started like a mini detox program. And I really I thought it was going to be like, weight loss related, but also just like I knew it was going to be, like cleaning up like my mindset, and I use cleaning up loosely, but that was something I really wanted to do. And then I got into working with you and I was like, oh my God, what did I do? So because I was terrified of you at the beginning, but then the more I worked with you and the more calls we got on, it was like easy to talk to you, to open up. And I like finally felt like I was working with a coach where I didn't have to hide anything from. And so that's kind of what kept me locked in. I didn't feel like I had to, because I, worked with other coaches where I felt like I would tailor my responses, even therapists where I felt like I couldn't share everything. And that's not the point of being in a coaching relationship or a therapy relationship, right? Like the whole point is to be able to say whatever you need to say, no matter, without judgment. And I think that's what kept me locked in.
I think that was optional, coming around.
Being not, no, it wasn't. You like literally were like, you're lying, tell me everything. And I'm just like, I'm not. So I definitely started out that way where I felt like I was still like tailoring responses or trying to say what I think you needed to hear. And definitely felt like got called out a lot at the beginning. And then now I don't feel like I really hide anything because I'm like, what's the point? You're gonna know. So yeah. I think that's what kept me around, was like, all right, like I'm in this group, I have nothing to hide, and I don't need to feel like I have things to hide, which I do think it's one thing to have the attitude of like, I have nothing to hide, and one thing to feel like you don't have to hide. So, yeah.
It seems to be like a common theme where everyone that comes into Mac's world is like terrified at first. It's like you guys say yes, and then you're like, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah, 100%.
Then you see how, like, you see the space that he creates that feels like safe, and then you start to feel the growth, and then you stay.
Yeah.
Like then you learn to really appreciate his ways, right? You like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you came in, it wasn't really a much of a detox. It was more of a mindset structured thing, because it was what I called break the chains.
Yeah, that's right.
Break the chains, and it was a 14-day go, and it was designed to break you free of some old habits and patterns. It was a little similar to some of the detox stuff, but even though later you actually went through the detox with me, what we call the detox program, that's not actually a detox program. It is, but it's like people think that they've detoxed, like I've done a cleanse, I've done this, shut up, you haven't. Like there are specific stages to doing this that are so important that a lot of people don't even understand how cells work, what all needs to happen. And then everybody overthinks it too. They think, oh, no, I don't want to do that because it's going to give me the shits, or it's going to do this, or it's going to take me out from work, it's going to do that. And it's like, no, it's actually like the physical part's actually really easy.
Yeah.
What's not easy about it is changing the habits and patterns that actually get your life to change permanently, right? And so, I came into this and said, I can do that, or I can do this. And what I really am passionate about is actually transforming people's lives into becoming something they can never go back to, right? Like that's ultimately the desire that I was going after when I started this. And so, even though you'd been through some training with me, you still plugged in weekly with me, and then you start the detox program, and again, all over again, you like last night we were referring to it as the cannon. You walked in front of the cannon and took a blow, which everybody's going to do if you're around me, because I just hear it, I feel it, and it's like this impulse, this nerve reaction where you tell a story in front of me and it's like hitting the knee and getting kicked, right? It just happens. I can't always explain it.
Well, a lot of times I think if you're not used to somebody telling you the truth, like the truth, it feels like a cannon. You know, most of us aren't around people that will actually tell us like what we need to hear in a loving way with the with the intention to help us grow, right?
Right.
And so it feels like a canon because you're like, whoa, but then you go through it and you like process it and then you know you look back on it and you're like, oh, that was actually really good. I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's like a bunch of cannon shots over and over and over and over again, which is why I think everybody has grown so much in such a short amount of time. It's because it's just like pew, pew, pew.
One of the things about starting it, and Cherie, maybe you can speak to this a little bit, was that even though Jen kind of knew who I was, she had no idea what I was about to do when it came to the actual detox program. And she felt like, I mean, the first day that I unleashed, the first, 2 days were introductions. And then I pretty much unleashed on the truth of like, no, this isn't going to cut it. Like the bullshit ends here and now we move. And she pretty much felt like she just took her best friends and her best people and led them to slaughter. It was like, what the did I just do? Like kind of freaking out, whatever. And I just kind of had to sit there and be like, I'm not going to change what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of questioning, like, is she going to run? I don't know. But as she stated before, kind of like trusted the process and watched it work. So Cherie, kind of back at you a little bit. What was that like?
Well, I started with the evolution group. And like, it's like, wow, this guy is really tearing into these people. But like Jen says, like you kind of like crave that. And then you talk about this detox that they're going to do, and it's going to be 4 months long, and we're going to straighten things out. It's like, yeah, that sounds great. And then the dates come up, and like I'm leaving for a camping trip. And so I'm like trying to get this set up, but I don't know what I'm getting set up. And so like, I don't know, it didn't work out for me to get things set up ahead of time, but that's okay. And then I got back. I was like, holy shit. So I've got 50,000 notifications. Some of them are at Mac just like screaming for an hour. And I'm trying to catch up on this. And I'm trying to get back from this camping trip. It was for my birthday. And trying to get back. And I was just like, fuck this guy. Like, I don't know this guy. And like I'm paying for this, like I don't need this shit, and like stressing out about like trying to get caught up, and then there's no break, it just keeps coming every single day, and I'm like, how am I going to make time for this? Like, how am I going to get caught up? This guy's an asshole. And then there was a day that he didn't post anything, and I'm like, what happened? Like, where'd he go? And I'm like, I need that. I need this. Like, why do I need this? And then like hearing later on. Anyway, that was just kind of like the journey of like craving this truth, I guess.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. Even I think
I think I remember that day when he like posted nothing, and I was like, they're all gonna be like worried about you. Like, where are you?
We were all actively worried, and then we all said that, and then we all got in trouble for saying that we were worried.
And then you're like, well, what did you think we were doing? And I'm like, honestly, I thought you got in a wreck and died.
Yeah.
Like, tell us how we're just
mindset.
like why we're thinking about this
It was
stuff.
a mindset thing. Yeah, like we all went to a negative place.
Yeah. Negative, and I called your asses out.
That's really
And so yeah, it's just part of the journey. It was an all-out attack on shitty beliefs, bad programming, letting the mind wander versus being in control of it. and accomplishing things. And then all of a sudden you kind of start looking at where you started in a month, 2 months, 3 months. You're like, holy shit, I've done more in the last 3 months than I have in the last 30 years, type of positions and on some things. So I know Cherie with you, and I'm not going to go into detail on this, but I remember even before the detox happened, we had a conversation, and you kind of cleared some, like you were just able to dump some stuff, right? Right. And you were all worked up about it and everything else, and you kind of dump it out there. And I remember clear as could be, like you just being like, I don't know what to do with this, all freaked out and then panicked. And I was just like, is that it? Like, is that okay? So this is what you're gonna do. Boom, boom, boom. And it was done. And it was just haunting. And that's typical for a lot of people. They come around and they're doing different things or whatever. And they're just like got these fears of like being able to make a move, or like they lack the courage to face the fear that they have internally. And even, Nuper, same thing goes for you. There were things where just these internal fears that like it almost feels to me like the dream when you're trying to run or fight and like you can't, like you can't get away from it, but you really want to, but you can't, and you don't know why. And that's kind of what happens is we got these stories in our heads of like, I can't tell anybody this, like mine was, I grew up with lies through my whole life. And, one of the things with it was in my house, it was safer to lie than it was to tell the truth. Because if you told the truth and you did something wrong, guaranteed you're getting your ass kicked. If you lied about it, you might get away with it. And the real challenge is that if you made a mistake and it was an accident, you got your ass kicked. And that's what the learned behavior taught me was if you made a mistake and messed up, there was no grace. It was just an ass kicking. And one of the big failures is I grew up in a religious house, taught about God and Jesus and everything. Granted, I didn't lose my connection to believing in what God and Jesus were, but there was a disconnect in the problem is now I felt guilty for everything I did when I shouldn't have. I was just a kid making mistakes. And I'm not going to necessarily fault my parents for it. They didn't know what they were doing. I'm just going to love them where they're at. But the reality is I had this behavior of being a liar, of hiding things or not speaking about things, thinking, hey, if I say this, if I tell Jen the truth of how I feel, she's going to run away. So I better lie because it's safer. That was who I was before. And then I went through the breaking process being like, screw this. I want out of this. I thought about it for years and finally got free of it and just owned it. And one of the things was I had made a mistake and I cheated once. And then finding the courage to actually do that. And then going on and teaching other people to be like, look, tell me, you think I care? Like, you think that's a big deal? It's not. And just being able to let somebody be like, yeah, well, it's a big deal to you. I understand that. Like it is, just like it was for me. But watch what happens when you let it out. And you just got it off your shoulders. And it was kind of, I think that was what really enrolled you into the program. Where you're like, okay, there's something here. I don't know what it is yet, but there's something here.
Yeah, and so it was an evolution call, but I think that I had already signed up for the detox, but we hadn't started it yet. And during this call, you talked about these exposing our lies. Or no, I wasn't on the call. I was listening to the recording. I was like, shit, we're going to go into this detox and this guy's going to find out. Like, screw this. I'm just going to tell him. Just tell this guy. He doesn't know me. I don't know him, but I'll just tell this guy. Because like I was ready to talk about it. I was so ready to talk about it, but like even now, I'm like, a lot of people wouldn't understand and they would be judgmental of this. So I just like, well, I'll just tell this guy. And I told him, and just like, okay, like, and that just like, I don't know, it just like, that was such a changing moment in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It's like, I don't think people understand when someone says the truth will set you free. I'm not talking about the truth that you hear. I'm talking about the ability to speak your mind, the ability to communicate your feelings, the ability to not care what happens if, right? Like that's the thing. And with Nuper, like you released a bunch of stuff, but at the next level of the detox, when you actually came in, it wasn't so much about necessarily revealing so much, but it was about pushing you to the point of telling me to fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
truth you weren't speaking.
No. Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. I like felt like, I mean, my whole life I feel like I've been very like by the book. I do what I'm told. Like I don't think I've really missed, but like, you know what I mean? Like everything you told me to do, I did for the most part. And even like, and then we got to this point where, you know, my family was going through something, and I was like at the hospital with my dad, and I had to miss a call. And you know, I was like, I told Mac in advance, I followed the rules, but for some reason he came for me. And I was just like, you know what? Screw this. Like, I've done everything that's been asked of me, like, fuck you. Right. And it's like, you know, it just kind of came out. And it was something that I at the time, like, you know, I still view you kind of like as a figure of authority, like somebody who, like, you know, you're in charge of this group, like you're somebody I look up to. And it's not typically like something I would say to somebody that I like view in that position. And but I just got to the point where I was like, no, like this isn't right. Like, you know, and it wasn't that what you were doing was wrong. It was and after we talked about it, after I think you and I got on a call after that went down, and you made me stack it, you made me like go through it. Like, and I think then after you and I literally got on a call, we were like cracking up about it because you were just like, but you finally did it. You finally said, like, you spoke up for yourself. You said like, no, like, this is me. This is what I need right now. And I'm saying what I need. And it's something that like, I would push myself to follow the rules more than I would speak up for what I would need, if that makes sense. And I think that that's like where I needed to go, to be like, no, like, this is what I need right now. And what I need right now is to be with my family. It's not about you. It's not about me like picking something else, you know, it's that I'm picking me. Right. And I think you knew that, but you needed to get me to see that. Like, I think so.
It's like oftentimes like we don't speak our truth or say what we need, and so we just do continue to do for others because we want their approval, or we want them to see us in a certain way, right? We do, and when you do that, you're not honoring yourself. And then eventually they ask something of you, and you, if you're not honoring yourself, you blow up, right? But like the lesson you learned there is to, you know, honor yourself and finally tell him to like fuck off, like fuck you, I'm honoring myself today. And like and you never, I think, really honored yourself and your needs in that way before. And so you learned like a very valuable lesson now that you can take on forever, is like, no, like I honor me. And like and even after you told him to fuck off, you honored yourself. And he still loves you, and we all still,
I know. Yeah, that was, and like that was what I was getting to, is we had this like great conversation after that, you know, it was just kind of like I needed you to do it, you know, and that was kind of the messaging that came through. And it wasn't like he knew I meant no disrespect by it, and like I knew what he was trying to do, but it was nice. Again, I'll like reiterate, like just to be in that space where like I could say that, and instead of getting mad or like coming back at me, your response was literally like, oh, this is good, like finally you're saying something for yourself, you know. And I like, and it's like after we had that conversation, it just felt relief. Like it just felt like I let loose, and I was like, it's me sticking up for me, and it was never meant, it wasn't about you, it was about me. And I like really liked being able to have that space. So
I feel like after that happened, that's when I feel like you started showing up even on social media a little bit different.
So much more. Yeah.
And like really just again, just like honoring yourself and stepping into this version of you that like had less fear.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when, you know, you were with your dad and you checked all the boxes, right? Like you told me ahead of time, you were doing this and everything else. And I remember when I went after you, like on the call, on the recording, and I kind of went after you, like, yeah, says this, but whatever, you know. And I was like, I remember internally like fighting that because logically my mind was saying she did everything. you're not following your own rules, right? Like you're being a hypocrite here. However, I felt the energy of it and I was like, this is what I have to do. I don't know why, but I'm going to attack the shit out of her right now. And so be it, and I was like, but I mean, there was a shred of some truth in what I was saying, as far as like, you can choose this or you can choose this. Which are you choosing? Right. And that was kind of an example. However, I had like, there's no way for me to hold it against you because you did everything that I said. Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a challenge of this. But what happened was you stood up and I was like, that's why I did it. Like now it makes sense, and watching you just be like, no, look, this, I did this, fuck you,
Yeah.
yeah,
and I feel like oh, sorry, go ahead, finish what you're saying.
Nope, you're good.
I was gonna say, I feel like I remember too, you had asked, the lesson that day was like about, I want to say it was either that week or the week prior, your lesson was literally like, if you know you want to say something, just say it, because the moment you hesitate, you're not going to. And I remember like you came at me and I was listening to the recording as I was like driving, and like I was like so pissed, like on the road, like, and then I got home and I was still listening to like the last bit of the recording, and I had my hand like literally on the thing, and I was like, do I let this go or do I say something? And I was like, nope, if you don't say something now, you never will. And so like that, I remember I was like, and I think I might have said something like that, being like, this is me, like I have to say this now or I'm never going to, type of thing. I don't know if we talked about that after, if I said it in the Boxer, but I remember just being like, well, you've told me to speak up, so here I am speaking up. So yeah.
Yeah, that would make me a real hypocrite to be like, no, if you got feelings, you say them. Like, you can tell me, with all my clients, I'm pretty much like, I mean, at some point, if you're not telling me to fuck off, you're not telling the truth about how you feel. Because like, I am going to, like, the point is to break and kill and murder the old programs, the old beliefs, the stuff that's not serving, the lies. And in that process, like, it's an attack on your subconscious, and your subconscious has a survival mechanism and is designed to tell anything that it thinks is a threat to fuck off. And so it's like, it's going to happen, and so I have to create a lot of space of saying like, no, it's okay. You can come at me, you can attack me. I mean, I still might have a little bit of triggers or something else or whatever, but I don't react to it. I used to be like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what's, I'm just not a hypocrite in that arena of just saying like, no, you can come at me and we'll figure it out. I might yell back if it's complete bullshit. And it's like, I've had a few people do it where it was just like, no, you're not even telling me your feelings right now. You're telling me your story of being a victim. Fuck you. Right.
Yeah.
And then I come back at it. However, if it's genuine emotion and feeling, that's when I'm like, okay, like, tell me to fuck off, like, get it all out. Let's do this. Right. Like, and I'm all for it. So,
and most of the times, like Nuper, when we feel something, we want to say something, and we just shove it down and we don't say anything, and we don't like honor, I would say honor our truth. I don't know if those are the words, but we don't honor what we want to, we don't honor it. We shove it down, we shove it down, we shove it down. And then we do explode eventually. And so like, it's such a good thing to like do, is to like, when the voice says like, I need to say something, or you feel the energy shift in you where you want to say something, right? You feel it, right? It's something like, I mean, I try to do this and I practice this, is where like, if I feel it, like, then we share it, even if you don't want to, even if it's going to be hard, because that you're honoring yourself,
Right.
and whoever that you're on, like, speaking to, like, they will respect it more. And like, when you're vulnerable and you're open, and you just, when you honor yourself, you respect yourself more, you love yourself deeper, and it's just like, it's just a beautiful thing here that happened. And then I think we can all learn from it, is to just like speak our truth, and don't shove it down, because when we shove it down, we are lying. And that's,
yeah, there's like, earlier you said, a lot of times we hold it in until we blow up, or We shove it down and we repress it.
Mhm.
And that's almost more dangerous, because then we have a story inside of us that no one knows. And then therefore we can never receive love, because we always think that no one understands, because we know we haven't exposed it. And it becomes a very lonely, depressing place to be.
Well, one more thing real quick. Think about this, like, had you not said something to him, Nuper, you would have shoved it down. And then maybe the next thing that happens, it could have been really small, but because you shoved that down, it would have created an even bigger reaction. And like, you could have maybe you wouldn't even be here today, because you guys wouldn't have worked through that,
Yeah.
right? Anything small could have set you off and you'd be gone for good. And and we wouldn't even know you, anymore. So it's like just honoring and sharing right when you feel it, and working through it together. And that's what you did, and that's what we try
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. And one of the things that you did, I can see in my mind how some people would take this as like, you got to speak your truth. And what they do is they get triggered, they get angry, and then they yell at the other person. That's not speaking your truth. That's not what happened here. There's a difference between if someone says something to me and I get triggered and I react to them, versus they say something to me and I discern it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I want to say something, but I'm not going to. So what is this? And being able to kind of look at it, assess it. And that's what all of you guys have been trained to do, is like, whether it's through stacking or the worksheet or whatever, it's the ability to take something in, look at it, discern it, and then respond. And it's a whole another level. So yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. So next thing, like, obviously there's a lot that's happened, a lot of changes, a lot of, like, so much cool stuff, but just kind of to hit on maybe some wins, like things that you've checked off. Cherie, what are some of your biggest wins through this time?
Well, I definitely saw a lot of changes in the beginning, but through this process and during this process, I also went to Tony Robbins. And I feel like while some of it was clicking, but I was still struggling. It's not like everything was like rainbows and butterflies. Like there was still a lot going on. And like even going to Tony Robbins, like that was a massive, massive struggle.
And a win.
But and a win. Yes, a huge, huge win. But I knew it's what I needed to do. And I teeter-tottered back and forth with, I'm going, I'm not going, I'm going, I'm not going. And you're just like, just do it. And so I just like went through the process and bought the tickets and then bought the plane ticket and then figured out the reservations and everything and just did it. And it was like pulling teeth the entire way getting there. And I absolutely would not have been there if it weren't for you. But like going there was just like, it really made everything click. And so since coming back and continuing to work with you, because I could definitely see how somebody could go to UPW and everything would be great for a couple weeks and then just shit is back to reality. You're like, what was the point in even going? But in continuing to work with the two of you, like I'm still like living off of what I learned there and what I was learning before. So that has been one of the huge wins. I think that like I've lost weight. I've pushed through it and started some exercise stuff. I've paid off a lot of debt. And I guess one of the really big things I was doing when I started working with you guys is, so I was like 6 months sober when I started working with you. And I was still like spending money just to like fill this void of like this shit show I had put my life in. And just spending money, and I had like awful debt, even though I make like really good money. It certainly didn't show. But I stopped that and I like recognized like what I was doing and spending this money that I was spending on just stuff. And it was just like this compulsive habit. And I was able to recognize and stop that and start to like really chip away at some of that debt and like making my money last through the month. And so that's been a pretty major win. But I like when I actually sit down and think about it, like there's so many things that have happened in the past several months that it's just like I never thought I could accomplish.
Yeah, I remember when you were trying, like, on just about to the point of like leaving to go to Tony Robbins, and you're like, well, this is just like, I don't know what to do about this. This is really scary. I'm like, yep.
Because you hadn't been on an airplane
I
in
haven't been on an airplane since I got back from Iraq in 2010.
2010, so like 13 years. I remember when I went to Tony Robbins by myself a couple of years ago, and I rented a car by myself for the first time.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I hadn't left my kids. I hadn't been out of the, I mean, I think I've probably like driven to Washington, but hadn't really been out of the state. Never left the kids, never spent this kind of money on myself. That my husband wasn't real supportive. And just going through the steps and just doing it.
anytime you book a trip and spend, like, anytime you go to a Tony Robbins event and you like spend the money and you say yes and you make the plans and go by yourself and like all these things, like there is just so many wins and growth during the whole journey, from the moment you pull your credit card out and pay for it all the way through. like like it's just win growth, hard challenge. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And it's like, because that's when you like the whole thing is like you really do learn how to embrace uncertainty. And that's life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Nuper, where do we begin? Like some of the wins from, starting from the beginning, moving through, you've moved places, you've moved jobs, you've changed positions, like let's go through some of it.
Yeah.
You love the most.
I think even just this, like, let's just talk about just this past year, like sticking up for myself at work, like changing positions, getting promoted. I got like a full scholarship to do my yoga teacher training. That was really cool. Releasing my music. And like when I was like in the studio, being able to like be like, no, this is what I want. This is what I need. Like I wasn't just relying on somebody else's like feedback. I was actually able to like lend my own ear. Let's see. Passing my yoga audition, like being an actual teacher, like forget about just teacher training. Like I'm actually about to start teaching myself. That's never something I thought I would do. Like I never thought I was capable before like doing this, but it's literally like I've learned how to speak, So I think those are like big ones. And it's funny because it's like those are things that I thought would take a long time. And now that they've kind of all come to fruition and like are continuing to happen, I'm like, oh, like that was just yesterday, it doesn't feel, but it's like, if you think about like how many, I talked to you, how much anxiety I had, like, I made Jen do like a whole yoga class with me because I'm like, I'm not ready to teach, and you were such a good sport about it. So it's just, I'm trying to think it's like all of those things I feel like happened in the past year, 18 months alone. And it's like, it felt like just like a blink of an eye, but like they were things I was like so stressed about, so worried about. But then it was like, right, just move through it, just go, just keep moving, like don't stop, like keep asking for things, like keep sticking up for yourself, like keep saying what you need. And yeah. And I think even still, like with like just even like the detox alone, like becoming more disciplined and like my regimen and my routine and, like some weight loss, but like mostly just like feeling good in my own skin. Cause I think I was like I'm already at like a decent, like piece was fine, but it was about get that discipline. I think that like that was what was forced here. And like, what I needed somebody to be telling me like, hey, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you check in? Did you do it? And like, that it was like, it's like, now it's like ingrained in me, like, oh no, I forgot to track. Oh no, I forgot to post. Oh no, I forgot to do this. And it's like, I don't like forgetting it now, right? Like I don't like I'm like literally like no, that's important to me. Like I have to do it. And I think that developing that routine through this like also made it possible for me to like pursue all the other things that I pursued. But I don't know, even just like my music, like recording 2 songs, recording and writing 2 songs, like that was big. Like when especially when my last song came out in 2021. So I hadn't released anything since then. So and now I have 2 songs coming out this year and an EP. So that discipline I think really paid off.
Yeah, like when we first started working together, I mean, financially, you were in a bit of a bind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was literally like struggling living paycheck to paycheck. And then I was finally able to like open up to my parents about what I needed. And that was something I like wouldn't have done before. Um, and now I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. Like I'm able to put stuff in savings. I was able to like invest a little for fun, not just like, whatever, but I was like, oh, I want to buy this stock and I did it, And so, it's been kind of like nice to have a little bit extra and not feel like I'm going off the deep end and being able to pay off all my debt without like fear of like not being able to. So I think again, that came down to like being able to be open and be honest about where I was at. So
Well,
that
there's
was,
just some simplicity to like what I, how I teach people and what to do. It's not complex, but when you do it, all of a sudden it's like when you first start, it's like, oh no, I'm gonna have to give up everything to try to fix this problem. And then
yeah,
you just do the simple stuff that I show. And then
yeah,
it's like, wait a minute, my lifestyle actually seems better than it was, and yet I have more money.
yeah.
What's
And I
going on?
remember even that finance, like it was like oh my gosh, it was like the money training you did where you had us go through and like make this sheet where we tracked everything. I was like the amount of subscriptions and things that like I was able to cancel just based on that. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, because it was like before I was like frivolous with my spending and I was just be like, oh yeah, like I want that or I'll do that, whatever. But like now it's like everything is done with purpose and I still have room to enjoy if I want to. So
Yeah, and Cherie, you can probably second that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There were some things that like we signed up for the free 30 days and then just never canceled it. We weren't using it and just like it took a few minutes and they don't make things easy to cancel.
No.
And so so it takes some time to like go through and figure out how to cancel it. And I kind of it's like $6 a month here and $13 a month there, but over and over and over. And I'm like, this is just completely wasted. Like, just sit down and do it. And so, yeah, definitely lowered monthly expenses.
Yeah, and it's you're in a position where at the time when you started, it was like we have a bunch of debt and no money every month. There's nothing. It's all gone every month. There's piles of debt, tens of thousands of dollars, to now, which is like you have an extra couple, 2-3 grand a month to put towards the debt.
Yeah.
It
And
means
like,
when the debt's
I
gone,
guess,
it means you're cash flowing an extra 3,000 to 4,000 a month that you can do whatever you want with.
yeah.
So it's like end of month zero to pretty soon, once this is paid for, end of month several $1,000s on virtually the same income. It's like, what happened? And that's just part of the process, but it's a major win when you start to see it. And then but it's like this head scratching thing. It's like, how the hell did I go, like, what happened? It's like, there's this thing just like, this doesn't make sense, but yet it just works. So simplicity of it. We got a few minutes here. Anything else you guys want to add? I have a question, actually. I'm gonna jump in. Nuper, what is the difference? Like, I just from your perspective, I've never asked you this before, but you knew me before. You knew me during my divorce. You saw a whole process go on. What is your opinion or take or anything else as far as when Jenn came on board?
It's funny you asked that because I feel like you were always really good about speaking your truth no matter what, but I think when Jen came on board, there was this like lightness that like kind of like came into it. It just kind of felt like, not that you weren't open and warm once I got to know you, but there was just this this like she just came in with this like big smile on her face, like ready to go. And it was like, okay, like there was just this like ease about the two of you. Because I remember even when we went on that trip in, what was it, last February, March,
April or
May,
May?
April or May. Okay. And it was just like when we met Jen for the first time, and it was just like the way you two like just moved. It was just like, okay, like this makes sense. It just felt like I was able to like go to her for certain things and like but still talk to you about them. There was no disconnect, I think, between the two of you. And it was like, oh, like I'm curious and talking about relationships. And you immediately were like, talk to Jen, like maybe she can help you, maybe she can talk through this. And it was just so like, I don't know what it was exactly I'm trying to say, but the ease of like being able to like communicate through it was, I've never felt like I was like talking to a different person, if that makes sense. It felt like I can like speak to both of you about the same thing, but you both bring different things to the table. But I just feel like with you, Max, specifically, that there was just like a lighter side. Not that you didn't attack us the same way or like come at us the same way, but just like some of the calls and the way you're teaching, I think you're like with Jen's input is like you're always like, okay, like what do you think? What do you like? And I just, I don't know, I really like that. I'm not like, I feel like I'm not answering this question that great, but I just felt like things were lighter, but not in a way of like.
Well, let me ask this question.
Okay.
Now that you've seen it with just me, or
Yeah.
you've seen it with the both of us, even though
Yeah.
Jen doesn't say much when we're on the calls, but she's always there. I think she speaks to you guys more privately.
Yeah.
Just more like because you're clients, you get interaction.
Yeah.
And it's more friendly, but like to put the value in it, to be like, there's this much value, there's this, like what, like how would you position as far as like, I'd never go back to what it was before, or like what's the
I think there's a greater value with having both of you for sure. I think that I wouldn't say I would like never go back to just working with you, because I don't, I think but that's not true, because we've been together for so you might say that. Okay. No, but I think that the added value, like it's like Jen brings that extra level of like encouragement to the group. Like I think she'll like message on the side or like reach out and just be like, hey, like that's really cool. Like that's what you did, and it's always like, not that we need validation, but it's always like nice because she like takes that little extra to be like to personalize it. Whereas like a lot of times in the teaching, like you're teaching a lesson, but she's like, I think she's paying attention to us as individuals, like while you're speaking, not that like you're not paying attention to us, but I think Jen's almost not the fly on the wall, but she's like paying attention to like,
well, I'm just a man,
able to read our emotions, like I think while you're talking, so I always really like that. But she's like, okay, like that was a great
I'm a
point.
man,
Or like,
and I show up as that, and there's
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that feminine touch is
there's
there.
not a feminine touch.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It gives me
Like,
permission to not have to worry about it because she takes care of it.
yeah,
It brings
exactly.
the emotion.
That's the exact way to put it. Yeah. She brings that extra level of emotion.
Yeah. Cherie, how about for you? Because I know you have a lot of interactions with Jen outside of, like we're strict, like you and I, we're more like coaching. We have sometimes different conversations, but most of the time you bring me some shit and I'm like throwing it back in your face. Like it can't be, it's like, it's got to be different when you're working with Jen.
Well, yeah, but I really appreciate both of your perspective, because it's like I feel like I don't have to like re-explain anything. Like when I can talk to Jen, and then I can talk to you, and both of you know what's going on. But Jen and I have so many similarities. It like we've both been through the exact same things. I think mostly with the drinking. But so many things are so similar that sometimes I'm just like, I just need to talk to Jen about this one. Or like, I need my ass kicked and I just need to talk to Mac about this one. So Just like knowing that when I go to one of you, it's like I'm getting the perspective of both of you. But yeah, really appreciate how you guys work together.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Final question.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that from both of you. I just love you guys so much. I love you both. You both inspire me. Yeah, it's really good. So the final question is, I guess we'll start with Cherie. If you could pick just one or two words to describe your experience through, let's just say, the detox. Through the detox, one or two words to describe your experience, what would your word be?
Life-changing.
Life-changing.
Yeah, like just it's so much to think about and even comprehend, like where I was before I met the two of you. It's like just life-changing.
Yeah, and I love having you and growing with you and getting even to going to Tony Robbins with you, like just adding that as part of our journey is so cool. So I'm just like really excited to continue on this.
Yeah.
And just keep going. Like life is so fun and it gets to be fun. And when we have amazing people, it's like it's even better. So awesome.
Definitely.
All right, Nuper, what would your like one word or two words be to describe your experience? Just let's just say over the last like 6 months, year working with Mac or whatever. Just
Yeah. I mean, these are two words I think I've used, but like growth and discipline. Like, I don't think I would have grown as much as I have or pursued half of the things that I pursued. And like, I don't think I would have had the discipline to maintain them without doing this work because, you know, Matt keeps me in check for sure. So, you know, like, did you do it? Did you do it? You know, so, and that's like, it's what I needed. And now it's part of who I am. So I think growth and discipline. I wouldn't have had those two things, I think, without this. So,
well, you're doing amazing.
or I would have had them a lot slower. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to watch you grow more and step into the woman you are becoming. And I feel like we should also, I don't know how many single men watch our podcast if this ends up on the podcast, but you know.
We'll drop it in chats.
She's amazing. She's amazing. You better be amazing too. Like we don't settle here, but
No. So yeah, I mean, to like Nuper to you, like I'm just gonna say that, you know, it's been amazing. It's been fun. Like kind of as you stated, you've been willing to say, okay, fine, what's this, what's that, and actually trust the process. And like who you came through the door as in the beginning was just completely different, right? Like you know, it was this almost like there's so much change. It's almost like taking a 17-year-old to a professional, you know, 30-year-old, you know, type that. Not to say you weren't already a professional and doing everything, but there were a few things there that where you were second guessing yourself. And now you are operating as a director, taking charge, taking on more than you probably need to, and just being true, authentic to you, standing your ground, doing what needs to be done, being led from the true heart, your emotion and everything else. And on like kind of more saying, this is who I want to be and being it. And letting that really come out. And like, you know, you kind of came in originally for, I think, for relationships, which you're still looking. But what's cool is your standard in men went from boy to like, no, you better be a man. Like, yeah. Otherwise, 100%. like we can chat, we can have fun, we can go on a date and whatever, and that's cool too. But when it comes down to it, like, this is what I want, and I'm going to go after that. And seeing you certain in that is impressive. So, like, props to you for the work you've done, what you put in, the accomplishments that you have. You are a powerful, wonderful, amazing woman, and I'm excited to see what's going on there. Cherie, to you, watching you go from like, oh shit, I have to let this go, and actually being willing to get on the phone and let it go, and watching you get that freedom was like a blessing, a gift for me personally. I feel like God blesses me over and over again to be one of the people to help people break through and life changing. Out of the last 6, 7 people we've talked to, 3 people, that's the word, life changing, right? Like, so that is true. It is life changing, and your life has changed. A lot is going on. You're still in the middle of some things, figuring them out. But the reality is, it's like, you spent how many years going this direction, and in 6 months, like, total correction, headed for the winds. They will come fast, and I know you're one of the people that's going to stick to it and get to it. And so I admire you for what you've done and been willing to do, even like jumping on a plane, going to Tony Robbins trust process, and then freaking out looking for some support. And I'm just like, yeah, feel the pain. And that's it. You're just like, shit, I thought he was going to give me a reason, like just going anyway. So props to you. God bless both of you, and we will end this call here so that we can continue. I think we're about an hour in. So thank you, both of you. I look forward to your wins, and have a wonderful day.